Commissioner Brian Helms.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a point of clarification. So at our last meeting, our December 19th meeting, Commissioner Richard Helms mentioned that he had a signed resolution that confirmed support of the former county manager and the direction that he was taking this county in his closing comments. It was insinuated that this resolution was drafted after this board took office on December 5th.
And actually, I have here resolutions from Union County Chamber of Commerce, Economic Development Advisory Board, Indian Trail Council, City of Monroe, Town of Wingate, Town of Fairview, Stallings, and support of mayors of Waxhaw and Weddington. This resolution confirms their support of Mark Watson and the direction he was taking the county.
As this is a matter of public record, I wanted to research this document for myself, so I asked for a copy of it and reviewed it. For clarification, the resolution Commissioner Helms referred to addresses economic growth, educational opportunities, and infrastructure expansion. It does not mention any current or former Union County staff by name or by title. Furthermore, this resolution was signed by an advisory board and different municipalities between July 12th and December 13th, 2022. That's a full 2.5 months before the current Board of Commissioners took office on December 5th. To suggest that this resolution was in opposition to any action taken by the current Board of Commissioners on or after December 5th, 2022 is not only irresponsible, is seemingly deceptive. The citizens of Union County and this board represents those citizens. They deserve honesty and transparency.
Next, we have discuss possible lease terms for Site B. And Brian Matthews, you've got the information on this.
Between Richard and I, I guess we'll try to muddle through this. So the board had discussions about having a lease agreement on property that we recently purchased on Ridge Road, and they instructed the attorney to discuss that with the property owner if he was interested on a portion of it, of that lease. He is. And now we're at the point where the board will need to give us direction on the lease terms.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
3-2. I'd make the motion then that we do it for 9 years, 11 months. Because of the type of crops that are going on there will be trees. It's not 1 year crops, so they're long-term crops. So the 9 year, 11-month lease would be not being able to be terminated by the county. All those in favor of the 9.5 year, no termination clause by the county, say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
No.
3-2. So would a motion be sufficient to say that Lucas Landscaping is to maintain insurance? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
3-2. So the motion would be that they cannot build any structures on the property. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. 3-2.
Inspection and right of entry by the county, because it is still our property,
How many days' notice you think?
48 at most.
I'd like to add something with approval of the board. Again, you don't want people going in with equipment and machinery running over plants and damaging trees. So I would add approval of the Board of County Commissioners. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
3-2.
The tenant is responsible for any and all, anything that happens on the property is the tenant's responsibility.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 3-2. If they declare bankruptcy or go out of business, then that would end the lease on their part. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 3-2.
How did we get to the value that you're putting on this lease?
I asked farmers in the area what was the prices they were getting for their land. Similar tract of land just up the creek got 0 for a year. The last number that the Lucases got was about $3,000 for a soybean lease. And that's
But you got a $1,000 to $2,000 house.
Yeah, I guess the same way we came up with the $300 a month lease that the prior board was willing to do.
That was just for the house.
Right, just for the house, yeah. but the house goes with the land, so.
Well, I'll make a motion that we reevaluate that and look at market value. And you can get an appraiser who'll give you market value, and because you're giving away county resources to do anything else.
Well, if you'll remember, the Lucases were under a threat of condemnation. When they sold that property, they had no interest in selling the property. And,
I disagree with that statement.
well, Mr. Lucas himself told me that he got a telephone call from an anonymous caller and said that his land was going to be condemned, and a vote the night that it was purchased. So Mr. Lucas was under the understanding that he had a condemnation pending. I'm under the understanding that there was a condemnation pending, and we probably shouldn't have bought the land when we did until we
That you
found out
voted
some more
for.
information. Do what?
That you voted to
No,
buy.
I didn't. It
Yeah, you
was,
did too.
No, I voted to not buy. I not voted, I said we need to put this off until the new board comes in, and that we decide where we're going to go with sewer plans for that area in the county. And we've not been reimbursed yet by the state, which means if we're never reimbursed by the state, then we're going to have to look at what we're going to do with that property, if we're going to sell it to somebody or if we're going to put it out for
You
bids.
can't if you lease it for 10 years.
Do what?
You can't, you're tying up
Well,
$5 million for 10
We'll
years.
know. So in 10 years, we'll know. But if the state doesn't pay us back, I can tell you where that money will probably come from. It'll be Union County
School
Public
system.
Works. It'll be Union County Public Works. And then we're also looking at another $30-some million project that if the state goes back on their word on this one, which is being purchased for sewer land, and in 10 years, hopefully we'll have the money to build the sewer land. But if we don't, then we don't. Maybe the state can give us another $274 million to make that a reality. There's been a lot of discussion in public on this dais and in other places about the leases, the value of a lease, and why would something happen with a lease that would lease for $3,000 a year. A lot of people in government, there's times that government has to take property, whether you're talking about building a road, putting in sewer lines, putting in water lines. There's times that it benefits more people by taking of that land, and that's why we have the condemnation powers. This board has always been hesitant to use those powers and trying to work out with the landowners what we can. The example tonight was Lucas Landscaping. And Lucas Landscaping, after many years of looking at a piece of property, Mr. Doug Lucas decided that he had saved up enough money to purchase this land to pass on this business to his children. And in that, he wanted to plant nursery and landscaping plants. And he purchased a house. And he did extensive remodeling on the house and made it worth more money by the remodeling that he did and the time and effort that his family put into it. The time and effort that a lot of people put in to properties that when they build their dream home, when they do something that they want to pass on to their kids, whether it be a farm, whether it be a shooting range, whatever it is. And instead, Mr. Lucas's plans were interrupted by Union County. And without very much, I guess, thought put into it, without the money in hand to build a $274 million sewer plant. So the action that we took was that we didn't have $274 million, and the rates, we weren't willing to raise the rates over the next foreseeable future to pay for a $274 million sewer plant. Therefore, the Lucases, whose business plans and opportunities to hire and create economic development in Union County were interrupted. If my home were purchased by the state at the threat of condemnation or the county or any place else, I would want to live there as long as I could. We have people that lived in homes all over Union County when the bypass was coming through. And that bypass took years and years and years to build. If those people had been kicked out of their homes under threat of condemnation and they wasn't able to live in those homes, then it would have been pretty upsetting to them to drive by their empty home every day thinking I could still live in my home. I could still live in that house that my grandfather built. So, you may hear a lot of grumbling, but just remember at the end of the day that this family, whether my fellow commissioners choose to remember it or not, had the threat of condemnation brought upon their decision to sell that land. They did not want to sell it for the price they sold it because they did not want to sell it. And that's the importance here, that a family can continue their business, can continue to hire people here in Union County until Union County can save up the money necessary, get the permits necessary, get the approvals necessary, get the U.S. Fish and Wildlife lawsuits or whatever else may come our way settled, and it's going to take years and years and years to accomplish that. I've tried to tell my fellow commissioners all through this process, this is not an easy process. It never has been. If it was an easy process, we'd be drinking water from Lake Tillery right now, but we are not drinking water from Lake Tillery right now. So, while some of you may not understand exactly why, understand that if your land was under threat of condemnation and Union County took it by condemnation, we could have had bulldozers on that land the next day, and you would be fighting us in court for many years. So rather than do that, we didn't. But that was the mistake of those who wanted to take this land and do with what they wanted to do with it. If they had those concerns and doubts, they could have taken that land by condemnation, and they could have put bulldozers on that land the next day, and this lease would have never come up. But for the next 10 years, it's going to be a process, a long and difficult process of trying to get anything approved. As you've heard, we don't even have the approval for a discharge permit today. But we're already talking about the state not giving us our money back. Well, they know the process takes a long time, so if they don't give us our money back for purchasing the land, then it's going to come out of Union County Public Works budget, because that's the problem, that's the issue. It's not a taxpayer issue. It's not an issue of something that you're going to have to worry about your taxes going up for. That money will come out of the budget for Union County Public Works. And maybe we can just sell it back to the Lucases after 9 years, 11 months, and they can continue on with that family dream that Mr. Lucas has had for 15 years. But I would hope that each of you understand that I would give you the same respect that we have shown to the Lucas family here today. We should not have purchased this land. We did not have to purchase this land. We could have waited until we got our permits. We could have worked with the Lucases, and the prior board decided that they didn't want to do that. Their mistake was not going the step further and putting it under condemnation. Now we've corrected that mistake, and the Lucases can use that land for 9 years and 11 months to follow the dream and hire people in Union County and contribute to the economic development that they plan to contribute to anyway. So with that, I wish everyone a good night and a motion to adjourn the meeting. All those in favor say aye. Aye.